Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and the power is out. No internet. No phone signal. ATMs are down. Airports grind to a halt. Hospitals switch to emergency mode. No explosions. No missiles. No soldiers. And yet an entire nation stops functioning. This is not a fictional scenario. This is the kind of attack being prepared right now, quietly, inside the power grids, communication systems, and digital infrastructure that sustain modern life in the United States and Europe. For years, state-backed cyber actors have been infiltrating critical systems, not to strike immediately, but to wait. To wait for a moment of crisis. To wait for conflict. To wait for the moment when a single command could shut everything down from within. And the most unsettling part is this. The most dangerous attacks don't destroy buildings. They destroy functionality. Because in the 21st century, a nation's strength no longer depends solely on its military, but on the digital networks that keep everything running. And for the first time in history, those networks can be turned into weapons against the very countries that rely on them. Most people in America and Europe still believe that wars begin with missiles. But the reality is far more unsettling. The first attack may already be inside their power grids. Not in the form of explosions, but in the form of access. Silent. Invisible. Already embedded. According to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre's annual Cyber Threat Report 2024 to 2025, state-backed cyber actors are actively targeting critical infrastructure, including power networks, communication systems, government institutions, and the essential services that keep modern nations functioning. And their goal is not simply to steal data. They are preparing for something much larger. The report explicitly warns that nation-state cyber actors are infiltrating critical infrastructure networks to position themselves so they can disrupt, disable, or even destroy those systems when a crisis or conflict emerges. This strategy is known as prepositioning. The concept is simple, but the implications are enormous. Gain access today, to strike at the most strategic moment tomorrow. Unlike conventional warfare, which requires troops and weapons, cyber warfare requires only one thing: undetected access. Once an actor gains entry into a network, they can remain there for months, sometimes years, quietly studying the system, mapping vulnerabilities, and waiting for the right moment. And this is not just theory. In a single year alone, the Australian Cybersecurity Centre responded to more than 1,200 cybersecurity incidents and issued over 1,700 alerts about malicious activity, an increase of 83% compared to the previous year. 13% of those incidents targeted critical infrastructure, the very systems that support electricity, communications, and vital public services. These numbers reveal a clear pattern. This is not random hacking. This is systematic, calculated, and strategic. State-backed cyber actors do not behave like ordinary criminals. They are not chasing quick profits. They are seeking position. They infiltrate the systems that sustain a nation, not to destroy them immediately, but to ensure they can do so at any time. Because in the modern era, a nation's power is not determined only by its military, but by the digital infrastructure that keeps it alive. And the most dangerous wars are not the ones that begin with explosions, but the ones that begin with access, already in place, waiting. A single cyber operation can shut down electricity, freeze banking systems, and cut off communications across an entire country. The reason is simple. Modern nations run on computers. Today, nearly every essential system is controlled by digital networks. Power plants rely on industrial control systems. Water supplies are managed by sensors and software. Banks operate entirely through digital transactions. Airports, railways, and transportation networks depend on real-time computer systems. Even basic communication, phones, internet, emergency services rests on interconnected digital infrastructure. This creates extraordinary efficiency. But it also creates a critical vulnerability. Disrupt the digital system, and the physical services collapse with it. That is what makes cyber attacks so dangerous. According to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, critical infrastructure accounted for 13% of all cybersecurity incidents in the past year, with more than 190 alerts sent to infrastructure operators, an increase of 111% from the year before. The most common attack methods show how easily systems can be crippled. 55% of incidents involved direct compromise of networks or infrastructure, meaning attackers successfully gained control of internal systems. 23% were distributed denial of service attacks, flooding networks with fake traffic until they stopped functioning. And 19% involved stolen credentials, allowing attackers to enter systems using legitimate identities, undetected. One of the most destructive threats is ransomware. In the same period, the Cybersecurity Center responded to 138 ransomware incidents, attacks that lock entire systems, preventing organizations from accessing data or running critical services. When ransomware hits hospitals, medical operations can be delayed. When it strikes energy companies, power distribution can be disrupted. When it targets government agencies or infrastructure operators, public services can grind to a halt. And this is only what criminal groups can do. State-backed cyber actors possess far greater resources, patience, and capability. They can do more than lock systems, they can manipulate, sabotage, or destroy them from within. Modern infrastructure also has a vast attack surface. It depends on complex IT networks, operational technology, and long digital supply chains. Every connected device, every server, router, and control system can become a potential entry point. This means crippling a nation no longer requires a physical invasion. All it takes is disrupting the digital systems that keep it running. Because when the power goes out, communication breaks down, and financial systems stop. The function of the nation itself begins to collapse. Their objective is not money. Their objective is control at the most decisive moment. For years, cyber threats were seen mainly as digital crime. Criminal groups stole data, demanded ransom, and disappeared. The motive was simple: financial gain. State-backed cyber actors operate very differently. They are not chasing profit. They are seeking strategic advantage. According to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, nation-state actors actively target government networks, businesses, and critical infrastructure to advance political and military objectives. Their operations include cyber espionage, intelligence gathering, system disruption, and preparation for destructive action if conflict arises. This is not ordinary hacking. This is state strategy. These actors infiltrate foreign networks, map internal systems, identify weaknesses, and maintain long-term access. They use sophisticated tools and techniques, stealing credentials, exploiting network vulnerabilities, and relying on legitimate system administration tools to avoid detection. This approach is known as living off the land, where attackers blend into normal system activity, making them far harder to detect. What makes this threat especially dangerous is patience. State-backed actors do not need to strike immediately. They can wait for years. The report warns that these actors often penetrate critical infrastructure simply to position themselves so they are ready to disrupt or disable systems if geopolitical tensions escalate. In this context, access itself becomes a weapon. They do not need to launch an attack today. They only need to ensure they can launch one at any time. The report also highlights that such access could be used to cripple essential services, disrupt national communications, and weaken a country's ability to respond during a crisis. Here, hacking is no longer just a security breach. It is a form of power projection. Just as nations build military bases abroad to extend influence, they are now building digital footholds inside the infrastructure of other countries. Because in the modern world, control over digital networks can be as strategically powerful as control over physical territory. And the wars of the future may not begin with troops crossing borders, but with actors already inside the system, waiting for the command. Artificial intelligence is transforming cyber warfare into something faster, cheaper, and far harder to stop. For the first time in history, launching cyber attacks no longer depends entirely on human effort. AI allows attackers to automate processes that once took weeks or months, now reduced to minutes. According to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, cyber actors are using generative AI to analyze stolen data at massive scale, identify high-value credentials, and automatically select the most vulnerable targets. AI is also being used to craft highly convincing phishing emails, create fake websites, clone voices, and generate deepfake videos to deceive victims. This dramatically increases the speed and effectiveness of attacks. What once required expert teams can now be done through automation. And the threat goes even further. The report highlights the rise of a global ecosystem known as cybercrime as a service. In this model, attackers no longer need advanced technical skills. They can simply buy malware, rent botnets, or purchase access to already compromised systems on digital black markets. Cybercrime has evolved into an industry. A global underground economy where attack tools and infrastructure are traded like commodities. This has drastically lowered the barrier to launching large-scale attacks. Even ordinary household devices are becoming part of the battlefield. The report reveals that state-backed actors have compromised internet-connected home devices, such as personal routers, to build global botnets. These infected networks are then used to launch further attacks while hiding the true source. The front line of cyber warfare is no longer limited to military bases or government facilities. It now extends into civilian homes, personal devices, and everyday life. At the same time, a new threat is emerging on the horizon: quantum computing. The report warns that future quantum computers could break the encryption systems that currently protect global communications, financial networks, and critical infrastructure. If that happens, the foundations of digital security could change completely. All of this leads to one unavoidable conclusion. The global balance of power is no longer defined only by soldiers, tanks, or nuclear weapons, but by who controls the cyber domain. Because in the 21st century, the nation that controls digital networks can ultimately control the nation itself. And the real question is no longer whether cyber warfare will shape the future of global power, but who is already prepared to win it.